ridiculous that he pushes this bullshit. And on the Muslim line, thank you, Zanny Minton-Meadows, too many journalists ignore the anti-Muslim rhetoric at the heart of the Musk movement and support for the far right. This is a man who funds Tommy Robinson, who supported Rupert Lowe, two of the most anti-Muslim voices in the UK, if not the West. And when he's asked this straight question, are you anti-Muslim? All he has to say is, no, I'm not. All he has to say was, I'm against anti-Muslim prejudice. All he has to say was, oh, I'm against criminals. I'm against extremists. That's all he had to say, Piers. But he couldn't do it.
What should have been a simple question turned into one of Elon Musk's most controversial interview moments. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. When Musk was asked a direct question about Muslims, his answer immediately sparked criticism. Mehdi Hasan doesn't let it slide, challenging the response head-on in a tense exchange. Let's watch the clip and break it down afterward.
I just want to slightly switch to something that is still involved in all this. The Elon Musk interview, which came out of the weekend with Zanny Minton-Meadows from The Economist, editor-in-chief there. A lot of news lines were made from this, some about AI and so on and so on. But there was a clip of him talking about Muslims. I wanted to play to you, given you're a Muslim.
Are you anti-Muslim?
I'm against having if people are coming to a country with antithetical views. I am against that. I'm against that. You know, I'm against I'm against rape and murder. I'm against the imposition of rules and laws that are contrary to what we've come to accept in the West.
Now, there's a lot of fallout to that, not least because, as he was saying this, new numbers came out which showed that the murder rate in England has dropped to its lowest in 50 years. So this idea, which people like Elon seem to have convinced themselves have been correct, which is that, you know, our motherland is being run over, particularly by Muslims who are raping, pillaging and murdering everybody, is not borne out by statistical evidence. So there's that. Now, Zanny Minton-Meadows, as I said on NBC, it's irresponsible for someone with 240 million followers, Elon, to propagate things that are simply not true. And he responded to that huge number of his followers by saying she is a traitor to the West, plain and simple.
Yes.
I mean, that is strong stuff, isn't it? What did you make of all this?
I mean, that's an understatement, but it's not strong stuff. It's outrageous, ridiculous, dangerous stuff. He knows perfectly well that he's putting a target on our back. When Elon Musk attacks people, and I've been attacked by him, you know what happens with his followers. He has a very cultish following like Trump does. It's very dangerous, and it's a ridiculous response, by the way. More than the news lines from that Economist interview was Musk himself and how he handled it. I think the aftermath and the fallout from the interview is more interesting than the interview, because this is the world's richest man who claims to be for free speech, claims to be for debate, but anytime he gets even the mildest of questions, he has a total meltdown. First of all, he rarely does interviews. I know he hasn't done an interview with you. You've been desperate to get one. He doesn't do tough interviews. He melts down when he gets semi-tough questions. Do you remember when Don Lemon interviewed him in 2024? He almost started crying during the interview and then cancelled Don Lemon's show as a punishment for Don asking him questions about his drug use. And now you have The Economist, very sober, mainstream, centrist publication, not woke left at all, as he might say, and he calls this woman, the editor of The Economist, a traitor, simply for pointing out that he doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to British and London crime stats. The three of us are Brits, two of us are British Americans. We all know here in the US, I'm sure Steve gets asked by Republicans, oh, Britain, it's a hellscape, isn't it? And it's not a hellscape, as we all know. And it's ridiculous that he pushes this bullshit. And on the Muslim line, thank you, Zanny Minton-Meadows, too many journalists ignore the anti-Muslim rhetoric at the heart of the Musk movement and support for the far right. This is a man who funds Tommy Robinson, who supported Rupert Lowe, two of the most anti-Muslim voices in the UK, if not the West. And when he's asked this straight question, are you anti-Muslim? All he has to say is, no, I'm not. All he has to say was, I'm against anti-Muslim prejudice. All he has to say was, oh, I'm against criminals. I'm against extremists. That's all he had to say, Piers. But he couldn't do it. Instead, he says, I'm against people who have antithetical views coming into this country. I'm against rape and murder, suggesting Muslims are all guilty of rape and murder. Can you imagine if somebody asked Elon Musk or anyone prominent, are you anti-Jewish? And they didn't just say no. They said, well, I'm against people with different views. I'm against rape and murder. It's an outrageously bigoted thing to say by the richest man in the world. I'm glad she asked it. I'm sad that not enough journalists have followed up on that fact. That Elon Musk, the top donor to the Republican Party and Donald Trump, the richest man in the world, the owner of one of the most influential messaging platforms, is an anti-Muslim bigot. And that's not me calling him that. That's him embracing it.
Steve Hilton, what did you make of that? I mean, look, you know Britain as well as I do.
Yeah.
This weird narrative that Elon and many on the right in America seem to have developed, that we're getting literally invaded and overrun by Muslims, you know that's not true. What do you say to people when they say this to you?
So it's interesting. I hadn't actually seen that clip. I was aware of the interview. I hadn't really followed it. But yes, I think that this is there's a characterization that actually misses the real problem with what's going on in the UK, I think. Obviously, I have an interest in that. Don't follow it closely. But there's something I say on the campaign trail, actually, which is that I don't want this state that I love to turn into the country I left. But what I mean by that is what you're seeing. I think there was a report that someone sent to me, one of the biggest figures in business in California sent me a research report on what's going on in the UK with economically, with the inability to build housing, the inability to improve energy infrastructure, the cost of everything, the bloat and bureaucracy and hassle of doing anything in the UK, which I think has produced, I mean, you'll know in more detail, Piers, but a sense of an economic, stagnation that probably is a really big part of why you get all this kind of sentiment. People are just frustrated with what's going on. And this person sent me that report and says, remind you of anywhere. And it does, because that's the way we're heading in California, with this bloated bureaucratic government that's making it impossible to do anything. And so in that sense, I think that that's the real point, I think.
Can I ask a question of Steve just on this subject? In May, there was an attack on a mosque in San Diego. 3 Muslims were murdered. It could have been 100 Muslim school kids murdered in a school nearby. It was 2 neo-Nazi white supremacists. In the past, you've been very vocal in condemning white nationalists. I remember you condemned the attack on the mosque in New Zealand back in 2019. This time, you're running for governor of California, massive terrorist attack against Muslims in your state. I didn't hear a word from you. I tried to look up what you said about it. I couldn't find a single posting.
No, I was there that day, actually. Funnily enough, Mehdi, I was actually there. I was very close by when it happened. And we went and spoke to local community leaders. Now, you may not have seen anything I said. We had a town hall that day, and I spoke about it. I was actually right there. Just a couple of miles,
because there's not a single post from you about it that I could find. So I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
I mean, perhaps I don't necessarily kind of express every thought on everything all the time, but I definitely agree with you. I mean, that's completely unacceptable, and I was there and said so, and in that community on that day.
And that's where we'll leave it. For me, the biggest issue isn't even the back and forth at the end, it's the broader narrative. As someone living in the UK, it's frustrating to hear sweeping claims about Britain that don't line up with publicly available crime data, or the experiences of most people who actually live here. That's why it's always worth checking the facts instead of relying on viral talking points. What also stood out was Mehdi Hasan's willingness to ask direct questions that many interviewers avoid. Whether you agree with him or not, those are the kinds of exchanges that force people to defend their arguments rather than repeat headlines. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think Mehdi Hasan made the stronger case, or do you think Elon Musk's comments have been misunderstood? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next political debate analysis. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.